Hey, we made it to another tenor episode. We made it to episode 30 of Dear Kevin. So, if anybody's been watching for a while, you guys know that on the 10 episodes, 10, 20, 30, and so on, I like to change things up a bit and, you know, kind of redo the mission statement, put myself back out there, explain the show for anybody who might be watching, and just kind of, you know, re-say it so I can stay true to the purpose. So, my name is George Efta. I'm a filmmaker and a screenwriter. All my scripts are over here on the shelf. I've been writing for about a decade, and the reason why I became a filmmaker is Kevin Smith, the filmmaker. He's my hero. Clerks is the movie that made me want to become a filmmaker. He's been continually a source of inspiration for me, both in his movies and his comic books, as well as just in the things he says, talking about nurturing an artist and taking chances and, you know, trying to stay ahead of the puck and going where the next place is going to be. So I decided to start a YouTube series, and this is it, called Dear Kevin, where every day I do a video either reviewing one of his movies or talking about something he's done, like a book or a comic book or a DVD review, or I talk about my own work, like my screenplays. And every 10 episodes or so, I come along and do something a little bit different. So this being episode 30, I thought I would tell a story about the time I met Scott Mosier, who is the M in Smodcast. He's the producer of almost all of Kevin Smith's films, first like 6, 7, or 8. They're best friends. They do Smodcast together. You can hear it on smodcast.com. He's a really funny, really talented dude. Without Scott Mosier, there'd be no Clerks, there'd be no Chasing Amy. He was the guy who facilitated all those years for Kevin Smith. And I'm going to go ahead and tell a Scott Mosier story the time I met him. But before I do that, let me say hello to you guys watching on YouTube, friends, and anybody else who might be new to the show. Like I said, I'm George, and if you go back to watch the previous episodes, you'll see me talk about my screenplays and the other Kevin Smith movies and how much, you know, he means to me. And I promised I would never tweet this out to him. At the beginning, I said I wouldn't be, you know, blowing up Kevin Smith's inbox. I wouldn't be trying to make him aware of it and saying like, hey, look, please hire me. But that is kind of the goal of the series. You know, I want to put my work out there, and I want to meet new people on the internet, and any new fan is a good fan, any new hater is a good hater, whatever. Any response is good on the internet. But the ultimate goal of this is actually to meet Kevin Smith, to get his attention, and maybe be on a podcast with him, you know, maybe just get to shake his hand and have a mini conversation, maybe have him on this show and talk to him about, you know, what he meant to me. But ultimately, the goal is to, you know, have a film career. And he's got a production company, you know, I think that he'd be interested in the notion of having a protege or a, you know, a master apprentice kind of situation going on. If not, then maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. But he speaks often about his fans and about how the next generation of filmmakers should do something, kids, to get out there and, you know, get your voices done. And if you wanna do something in this world, you should just do it. You know, as long as you're still above ground and breathing, you can do anything you want in this world. And what I want in this world is to be a filmmaker, and I want to be a part of Kevin Smith's life. I want him as my mentor. I want to have his guidance. You know, I want to cast him in a lot of my movies. I think he's a great actor. So that's the point of this series. That's why it's called Dear Kevin, because every day I do one of these videos, I make a plea directly to Kevin Smith. And it's different every time. Either I'm going to say, hey, I really like Clerks, or please release the Jersey Girl extended cut, or whatever it is. Something different every time. Every 10 episodes, however, the Dear Kevin's always the same, which I'll get to at the end, but that Dear Kevin is always like, please watch these and hire me if you want to, you know, if you want to hire me. Help me get my life started the same way that, you know, Scott Mosier, Bob Hawke, Harvey Weinstein, John Pearson, the same way those guys reached out and helped a kid in New Jersey who had dreams of making movies. Maybe he'd like to reach out and help a kid in Texas who has dreams of making movies. But before I get to that, let me tell the Scott Mosier story. So, for those who don't know, like I said, Scott Mosier, he's been in a bunch of the movies. He was Willem, the big bearded idiot from Clerks, the guy who, you know, snowballs. In Mallrats, he played Roddy, the assistant with the headset, got punched out by Jason Lee. He'll be back in Mallrats too, by the way. In Chasing Amy, he's at the beginning. He's the guy who gives Jason Lee shit about tracing. No, you draw what he does exactly on top of it with a pen. You know, that character. In Dogma, he's the guy Matt Damon shoots on the bus, the guy who's having an affair with his wife, with his wife. He's cheating on his wife. In Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he plays the office PA who puts Jay and Silent Bob into Good Will Hunting 2. And he's like, all right, now just stand here, don't move the actors, and don't say anything. And then he points at Silent Bob and he goes, especially you. That's him. And he's not in Jersey Girl, I don't think. In Clerks 2, he's the guy who says don't look at his wee-wee, so on and so forth. So if you've seen the movies, you've seen him around. As I said, he produced all those movies: Clerks, Mallrats, Amy, Dogma, Jan Silent Bob Strike Back, Jersey Girl, Clerks 2, and Zack and Miri was his last producerial effort with Kevin Smith. In his own right, he's gone off to become an editor. He's edited a bunch of movies. He wrote the animated film a couple of years ago, Freebirds. It's on Netflix, the movie about the Thanksgiving turkeys who travel back in time to stop the first Thanksgiving, or at least to get turkey off the menu so that they can end the turkey genocide they've been living through. He wrote that movie. He's been in the industry for a very long time. Kevin Smith's best friend. They do Smodcast together every week or so. Very funny dude, and without Scott Mosier, Kevin Smith would never have become the filmmaker he is today. They met in film school, and when Kevin Smith finished writing Clerks, Scott Mosier moved to New Jersey, lived in Kevin's house. They filmed the movie together. You know, Scott worked in the video store and in the convenience store. You know, really just gave up everything to help his friend get this movie made. And then after Mallrats happened and, you know, didn't do well at the box office, when Kevin wanted to make Chasing Amy, Scott Mosier was the guy who had to put that movie together for $250,000, which, if you've seen the DVD commentary track or the behind-the-scenes documentary Tracing Amy on the Blu-ray, you know how hard it was for Scott Mosier to make that movie with that budget. But he's the guy who's always been there for Kevin Smith. And I've always said that one of the reasons I haven't made it as a filmmaker yet is that I don't have that Scott Mosier in my life. I have a lot of wonderful friends who love me and support me, but I don't have another person who just, like, understands filmmaking that way and has that same passion and is just there to, like, put everything aside to help me make my movies, which obviously that's a rare person. Scott Mosier is a mensch, gift from God, great dude, and I got to meet him once. So, back in 2008, the year of Zack and Miri Make a Porno, it had its American, like, United States premiere here in Austin. It had its North American premiere and its premiere in general up at Toronto. But the second place it ever screened, I'm pretty sure, was the Paramount Theater down on Congress Street here in Austin. And I got tickets to go with a friend of mine, and we were up in the balcony. But, you know, I knew Kevin and Scott were, well, I didn't know Scott was going to be there, but I knew Kevin Smith was going to be coming to intro the movie and do a Q&A. So we were hanging around in the lobby, me and my friend. And I think there's a clip of me online somewhere talking to some reporter about Zack and Miri Make a Porno, because they had somebody from a local, you know, website kind of place there interviewing fans. But we were waiting in the lobby, my friend and I, waiting to see Kevin Smith come in. And he did, you know, big crowd of people, and Kevin Smith comes up and all the flashbulbs are going off. He looked really fucking happy because he was really proud of Zack and Miri, and everyone was telling him it was going to make $100 million, and boy did the Harvey Weinstein. The Weinstein's really fucked up release that movie, but whatever. So Kevin's over there walking up, and he kind of stands in the middle of, like, the big entryway, not in the theater, but in, like, the foyer of the theater, and they do a Q&A with him, you know. So I'm watching from afar, like, man, there he is. I wish I could go say hello to him, but he's busy and surrounded by people. When I look over here, and Scott Mosier just kind of sidles up and leans against the door frame, you know, waiting for Kevin to get done. And I didn't freak out, I didn't, you know, get all fanboy on him. I just went, hey, it's Mosier. And he went, yeah, it's me. And then while Kevin was interviewing, we just kind of had a conversation, me, my friend, and Scott. And I was like, do you mind, you want to chit-chat for a bit? He's like, yeah, man. So, you know, you guys, he asked about, you know, you guys come to the Paramount often, you guys students at UT, you know, what do you think of the theater? You know, are you excited for the movie? My buddy mentioned that he saw Clerks 2 here. And I asked him, you know, a bunch of silly questions about, like, I read on your IMDb page that your lifelong goal is to remake the movie The Dark Crystal as a live-action children's film. And he laughed. He was like, no, that's just some shit Kevin said in an interview once 10 years ago, and it's never died. I was like, that makes sense. I figured, but I wanted to ask. And we just got talking, you know, we just got to chit-chatting about the film, about filmmaking, about Zack and Miri, and I said, you know, what are your hopes for this? And, you know, are you excited to be moving out of, you know, the Kevin Smith world, the View Askew world, into something a little different, and doing, you know, how was the movie? Like, what is it like working with Seth Rogen? Are you excited to make money? And I was like, how does it feel to know you're about to make $100 million? Because I was another one of those people who just believed it was going to make that much money. And Mosier was real cool. He was like, he laughed. He said, well, I hope it does well. People seem to be liking it a lot. I mean, it's cool that you guys are here, you know. Do you guys always come out? And I was like, I've never come out to see another filmmaker. Like, you guys are the reason I'm here, and it's fantastic that you guys came. So we just got to have it. And I didn't even ask for, like, hey, can I get a picture or an autograph? I just forgot to do that. It was just, he was so open and charming and not at all like a dick, that it was just very cool to, like, meet one of my heroes and just, like, he treated me like I was another filmmaker. Like, so what do you guys do? Do you guys make movies too? And he didn't treat me like some underling who was, like, in the way and bothering him. He treated me like an equal. And that made me feel fantastic, you know. It didn't make me feel, he didn't make me feel small. It made me feel like I could go out and do what he did, you know. And I told him, I'm sure, you know, that he was an inspiration that when he made Clerks and blah, blah, blah. But it really wasn't like a fan talking to his hero. It was a much more, you know, on equal playing field, but very much I had more admiration for him than I'm sure he did for me. But we just kind of chit-chatted, you know, and other fans would come up and, you know, they'd be like, hey, can I get a selfie? And then they'd wander off and we'd go back to talking. At one point, Jennifer Schwalbach, Kevin's wife, who was also in town, she came up and they chit-chatted and I got to ask her a couple questions as well. Same thing, very, very friendly, you know, no ego at all, completely modest. I said, hey, are you going to do any more acting? And she's like, oh no, I am not an actress. And I was like, come on, you've been in a bunch of movies, you've been great. She's like, thank you so much, thanks for coming out to support the movie. And at a certain point, you know, they had to go off to go behind the scenes and start the show, but it was a really cool moment. It's one of those moments that, like, living in Austin, living so far away from LA, you don't get to meet a lot of your filmmaking heroes. They're here, but they don't wander around so much. In Los Angeles, you know, shit, you can have celebrity sightings every 5 minutes in Los Angeles. And I did have a few, but they all feel like that, I don't know, Los Angeles is such a screwed up town, and a celebrity sighting is just like, that's just a person living their life. This was different. This felt like I was having a conversation with a fellow filmmaker. That's how he made me feel. He made me feel like I could do what he does. And that's awesome. That was fantastic of him. So they went in, you know, they did their Q&A and their intro to the movie, and they screened Zack and Miri, and the fucking reaction was crazy. People went apeshit. I love that movie so much. They released it on Halloween. I'll get more into detail about Zack and Miri when I get to that episode. But the reason why it tanked is that they released it on Halloween. Friday was on Halloween was on a Friday that year, and they thought this would be genius, we'll release the movie. But nobody went. Everybody who could go see Zack and Miri was out having fun, partying, drinking, you know, not going to the movies. So High School Musical 2, in its second week, I believe, actually outgrossed Zack and Miri Make a Porno. And it went on to be, you know, a profitable film. I think it made like $40 million bucks or $35 million bucks on a $28 million budget, something like that. But yeah, that movie could have been something much different than it was. And you could see it in Mosier's eyes that he was really proud of it, and he was looking forward to kind of, it seemed anyway to me that right on the eve of the movie being released and shown to people that he was really excited to kind of step into a different arena and produce different kinds of movies and to kind of get out of the box that he'd been in for his entire career, which is these smaller, you know, $10 to $20 million movies that only make about $30 million. Like, it seemed like he was really excited. And it was cool to see him that way, because if you know anything about Scott Mosier, he's usually very reserved and he's very much the straight man to Kevin Smith's, you know, zany comedy. If they're a comedy duo, you know, he's Silent Bob, Kevin is Jay. You know, it was cool to see him kind of, you know, excited and exuberant, and he was clearly feeding off the energy of the crowd, and it was very cool to meet him, and he made me feel, like I said, like an equal, like I could be a filmmaker too, like I was a filmmaker too. He didn't make me feel small. So I wanted to share that story with you this time before I go back tomorrow talking about other Kevin Smith things and my other screenplays. As I said, I do a Dear Kevin every episode, and every 10 episodes it's the same one, so let me go ahead and get into that now. Dear Kevin Smith, as you've just heard me say, if you've watched this whole episode, I'm a massive fan of yours, I'm a massive fan of the people in your world, and I couldn't be happier with where your career is going now. I can't fucking wait to see Yoga Hosers and Moose Jaws. Very much can't wait to see, you know, Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3. You've been there for me since I found your movies back when I was 13, 14 years old. You know, in high school when I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, you helped me figure that out. After high school, when I didn't have a lot of friends because they'd all gone to college and I was at home with my mother, you know, you kept me happy and inspired. I got to write a bunch of screenplays, you know, living at home with my mom. When I was in LA going to college and dealing with depression, you were there to keep me happy and, you know, kind of distract me from how bad things were by making me fucking laugh. You know, you got to make me laugh all the time, and not just laugh, but really be inspiring, because your movies have something really deep and positive to say about what friendship is and what love is. And more than your movies, the things you say on your commentary tracks, podcast interviews, about the nature of art and about how you can do anything in this world if you try hard enough. Like, go for your dreams, kid. Push whimsy, chase whimsy, because you never know what could happen. A silly conversation between you and your friend about a fucking guy in a walrus suit could turn into the beginning of the next chapter of your career and your life, could reinvigorate you. So, all that's incredibly inspiring. And I started this series because, A, I wanted to celebrate you. I wanted to talk about the movies that you've made, the things you've done, and what they've meant to me, and share my love with the world. In the same way, you know, Fat Man on Batman is kind of a big inspiration for me for this. In the same way that you did that podcast as a way to meet people who love Batman and talk to people who love Batman and talk about what he's meant to you and what you know, heroism is and what great art can come out of, you know, such a depressing story. And all that stuff, how a fictional character can change lives. All that was an inspiration for why I'm doing this. I wanted to share my love to anybody who'd want to watch for your movies and my appreciation for you and what you do. That being said, I am a filmmaker in my own right. All my scripts, not all of them, I'm putting them up one at a time, but most of my screenplays at this point are up at my blog, adolescentconceptions.wordpress.com. There at that blog you'll also find other essays and short stories and top 10 lists, whatever, a bunch of stuff. It's a blog. But I am a filmmaker in my own right. I'm not just a fanboy, and I'm not just trying to ride your coattails and, you know, please hire me because I like you. I've written a bunch of screenplays. I'm gonna be a filmmaker anyway. You know, that's another reason why I'm doing this series, is to try and make other people aware of my scripts. But, you know, we all have our heroes. I think we all have the people we want to meet and work with someday. And you are mine. Regardless of how I end up becoming a filmmaker, whether it's luckily, you know, if I get lucky and this leads to being a filmmaker, leads to me being a filmmaker, or if I win some screenwriting contest, or actually get the nuts up to go actually make an independent film like you did. Regardless of what happens, the first thing I want to do if I ever have any clout is say, I very much want to meet Kevin Smith and I want to tell him what he's meant to me. Because without your movies, I would not be where I am. I would not be a screenwriter. I wouldn't be as happy a person as I am. I wouldn't be as good a person as I am. So, Mr. Kevin Smith, if you have any interest in, you know, a protege, if you have any interest in, you know, a little Padawan learner, if you want to pass along the secrets that you know, I'd like to nominate myself for that position. I want to be a part of your world. I want to have, you know, I want to do a podcast with you about something. I want to share in, you know, the world you've created. I want to be in your movies. I want to be, you know, I love the fact you put Ralph Garman, you know, just a friend that you do a podcast with. I love that you've made him this kind of underground cult actor, like a Sid Haig type, because of, you know, his friendship with you. I'd like to be part of that. I also want to cast you in my movies. I think you're a great actor, and I think there are a few different roles I've written that nobody else could do quite like you. So, as I said, it's a little bit silly, a little bit gauche to just reach out, but as you often say, particularly on Batman, you never know unless you try, right? Unless you ask for something, hey man, can you hire me? I'd like a job, I want to go direct The Flash, can I? Well, this is me doing that. So if you want to meet a fan and a fellow filmmaker who, you know, wants to do anything you pay him to do, or just have a conversation with somebody who admires your work, or come on down to Austin and be on this YouTube channel, which nobody's watching right now anyway. I get like 12 views per video, but I love it. I love all 12 of you. Everybody who watches, I love you so much. You keep me going. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to say, Kevin Smith, is I love your work. I'd like to be involved with you, and I'd like to meet you someday. So hope you check these videos out. I hope you watch the other episodes and see I'm sincere. And I hope you check out my screenplays, because I think I'm a talented writer, go figure. And I'd like to work with you someday, and I'd like to be a filmmaker, because you're a filmmaker. Without you, I wouldn't be a filmmaker. I wouldn't have that ambition. So if you have it in your heart, or you have any interest at all in meeting me, or talking to me, or working with me in any capacity, even if it's just tell me to go fuck myself, that's fine. You can totally do that. That'd be fantastic. That'd be an epic ending to this Dear Kevin. Dear Kevin episode 107. It's just you, and you go, fuck you, George. That's it. Whatever it is you want to do, please reach out to me through Facebook, through the blog, you know, whatever. I'd be very happy to meet you. Sincerely, George. So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about something else, I'm sure. And in another 10 episodes, I'll be doing this again. I hope you liked my Scott Mosier story. I hope this wasn't boring. I know that these 10 episode videos, every 10 episodes, tend not to do as well with the views. I know you guys like it better when I talk actually about a Kevin Smith thing. But it's not, I didn't want this just to be a masturbatory, hey, look how much I love Kevin Smith. It's not just about that. It's about, you know, what he's meant to me as a person, and, you know, look what being a fan of something can bring. In this case, it can bring a YouTube series, it can bring 15 screenplays. So I wanted to share a little bit something different, do something different this week. I mean today, not this week. This is a daily series. So if you like the show, subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow talking about the next Kevin Smith thing, whatever that might be. Thank you for watching. I love you all. You're all fabulous, every single one of you. And goodbye.